Hello and welcome to episode 5 of LVL UP Podcast. Today with me, my good friend Mia Bella, musician, entertainer, chef, and the dancer. Welcome. Welcome, and how are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. It's such a pleasure to be here. How are you?
It is a pleasure. I'm doing great. Thank you for coming. And to start, I would like to ask you about your music. Where are you getting inspiration?
Everywhere.
Everywhere?
There is inspo everywhere. And I never want to limit myself to only other musicians because that's immediately what you think about. You know, you've grown up on certain artists, especially as a dancer. Like I grew up dancing to certain artists and then started really listening to music as, you know.
Are you a dancer first? Or
absolutely. Dance is everything that I am. It's my foundation and it will always be the reason of where I am today.
So that's what I notice with people who start in certain art. They will process through that type of medium. Like as a dancer, they will process everything through movement, right?
Yes.
So are you movement first?
I love that you're aware of that. It's beautiful to hear. Because I don't think you're a dancer, not from what I know, you know?
No.
But I love that even though you're not, you still kind of stand by that and you're aware of that. I always would say, I love that you say this. I would always say I listen to music through my body.
Okay.
And then I listen to it through my mind because it is this mind-body connection that I grew up since I was 2 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, immediately I love that you say that. Yeah.
I'm interested in that. So how does it work for you? Does movement come first for you and then sound?
I think that it's kind of like they go through, like it's kind of like this. Like they're dancing together, right. Pardon the pun. Yeah. But when I hear a beat or I hear a song even that is done with lyrics and melodies and you know the whole shebang, I still eventually like it hits my body first, right. And then I'm like, ooh, this movement could lead into this melody. And the more I've learned about melodies and lyrics and the importance and all of that, I've realized it just goes back to sequences of movements.
Right. So in terms of like when you're writing music and you're hearing it and you first like how are gonna develop it from this movement to the next one, you first thinking about, is it actually danceable or no?
Absolutely. Even if it's a sad, slow song.
Yeah.
I grew up dancing all different types of genres, let's say. We call them styles of dance. But yeah, like I have to be able to connect to it through my body. And then the words kind of are just like the icing on the cake. Mm-hmm. And they just evoke even more emotion than what you already can evoke with your movements.
Mm-hmm. Do you tend to get back to the same work many times? Like, do you tend to rework and edit the same projects, or you tend to like make them really fast and release them? What's your process?
I love that question. I think I used to. As a rookie, it would just be like, yep, I guess this is done. You know, that's it. Let's just send it off. And now it's like I come back to it. And obviously, my boyfriend who's here with us today, he's also a musician. And right. I have a big community of people, more so than I ever did before, that, you know, I run stuff by, I listen to it with them. And, you know, not that I'm searching for other people's opinions, but it's great to have other ears. And then you're like, oh, let me do this again. I'll add more layers. And then you're like, oh, let me add choir effect. Let me add this. So yeah, definitely I take my time even more so now than ever because I want to be able to stand by this 15 years from now and be like, nah, I put 100% into that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. But my also question was about, so I have that, and a lot of friends that I know, they sometimes experience it, is that you can just polish something like indefinitely, and it will incrementally get better until it kind of reaches a plateau, and it's no longer really getting better. Only you can sort of perceive those. So there's like a pitfall there to being stuck in polishing something and kind of never releasing it.
I love that you talk about that because I think that's a common thing. There's no such thing as perfection, and we have to learn to love the imperfections within everything that we do. And I totally agree. You could eventually, you could throw yourself into like a stump or you're like a stalled position, which is dangerous. You want to continuously be stepping and moving forward. So sometimes I'm like, I need to pull the plug. I've gone back to this. The session is overloading. And that's a real thing in the recording studio. You've had so many stems. You've done so many layers. The session is going to like break down on you. Yeah. It's like, okay, this is enough. Let's put it out. And as long as you love it and you stand by it and it's done quality, you know, there's quality in it, you eventually have to let go and you have to
and you know that's what I noticed with people who are starting, especially if they're learning tools and they're learning editing or they're learning sound mixing, they're learning Pro Tools. Like they will learn all those tools and features and they try to use everything in one session, and it doesn't work. And so that's one thing. And then the other thing is I feel there's that point when it reaches the good enough quality, and I don't think there's any reason to go past that and like polish it even more. Like I follow the rule of 30-70, like 30% of time gives you 70% of result, and to access that 30 extra percent of quality you need to spend 70% of time extra, which is not worth it, right? So I mostly trying to follow that. Do you have a sort of a guide or rule for yourself that you follow?
I love that. I might need to create my own. I don't necessarily have an actual like that, which, next time we sit down, I'll bring you something because I really like that.
It's not exact that, but I feel like
I feel like it's mostly
draft. It's mostly done. It's like 70% done. If I'm going to spend extra time to polish it, to get that extra sparkle, maybe it's not worth it in the long run because I need to release more. Like it's better to move to the next thing, because you're not going to learn if you're going to stick on the same project. You're going to polish it. Plus, I feel the problem, especially, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe with sound mixing, it's not the same. But with editing, I feel like the more I work on the edit, it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And because I already know, I'm very familiar with it. So it's not a new information for me. So I feel I can squeeze more. So I can have more dynamic, like faster. It becomes faster. Clips become shorter. And then I can perceive it because I actually shot it and I'm familiar with the material, but I notice when you're showing to new people, they like, oh, this is way too fast.
I love that, and it's a very valid point.
Is there a similar thing with the music when you're working on it and you like so familiar with the music, so familiar with the text of your song that you trying to make it squeeze more and make it tighter, faster?
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is a huge thing, especially with lyrics. Artists and musicians, we all need to sit back and realize that melodies are more important than lyrics. I used to, before I knew anything really, and I was just like making music. Oh, this sounds cool, with no thought, no like understanding of what the tech, because it's like a science.
Oh yeah, for
when
sure.
You really learn. But I was just mixing all this chemicals together, and here we go. So I would try to shove as many like, oh, these words are like so no one's heard them before, and it's like, no, that's not. You need to keep it more simple sometimes. You're trying to do too much, and in your way you're trying to tighten it. Like I think in music language it would be trying to shove too many lyrics. You're trying to do too much where sometimes less is more. And most times people are not trying to like go to class and like learn your lyrics. They just want to enjoy a song, and they just want to enjoy a clip, a video.
Yeah, and I also feel like
this thinking.
It can get overly complicated, especially if you're mixing and then you're like, oh, I can add drums and then I can add, strings and I can add that, and you kind of layering, but then it's just a mush.
And it's just like too noisy.
Much. There's also this cool noise of car passing that I recorded. Let's throw it there, and you have this
car passing,
whatever, maybe a bird outside a window.
I love it.
Like people like to use the tools that they have, and maybe like to add more. That they like, oh, maybe they
more is more.
Some mixer would be like, yeah, less is more. Less is more. That's me as well.
I love that. Yeah, it becomes too noisy, and we talk about this a lot. There are some artists where it's like, oh, that's just, you're too noisy. It's too noisy. Now my brain's like, it's my brain's like jumping around inside my head instead of just like sitting and enjoying a song.
For
I
sure.
love
And
that
you were
the
right.
car passing. Like, what is that? Like, why is
not?
that there?
Why not? I know
Yeah.
that some sound people record just sounds of the nature, then they use it in their mixes. But the other thing that I was thinking about is you mentioned the melody, and I thought about I'm not a musician, but I thought about, how you remember a good song and you remember mostly melody out of it. Yes. That's how you remember songs. If you humming the song, you hum the melody, you're not humming the bass.
Or the lyrics. Like,
or
you remember all those words? No.
Yeah, you're kind of humming, the melody.
Every single one of you knows that motherfucking song, and I
sure.
don't even need to know the words.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important factor in the song for memorability. Maybe lyrics something deeper for people.
Totally.
But,
they're the icing on the cake.
Yeah,
they're the sprinkles. They're the designs. Those
so
matter.
When you build, would you start building melody up, or like how would you?
You mean like melody first, like melody, exactly. Oh yeah, and I didn't, and I've learned a lot from my man. Like I really have learned a lot.
Yeah. How did you start it before you started?
I would always start with like, oh yeah, these words, like, and then I would just stick to those words, and yet
and make it work. Try to make it work with those words.
You're trying to work around the words when ain't nobody care. Like ain't nobody care as much as me, at least. And that's where sometimes you have to set yourself aside and you have to put the music like first, and you have to put the music as a whole. How is this going to be aside from how I really feel? Like, how are people going to really receive this, because it's, once I put it out, it's not really about me anymore. Of course it will be still mine, but it's like, it's not mine anymore.
So it's released out there.
Yes,
for sure.
melody first. Now I'm like gibberish, and I'm just like, once you find that, and again, it movements. All of a sudden you're like, move, da da da, da da da, boom, ba da da da. Then you fit in the words into the placement. It's like you have a blank.
That's like scat.
Yes, it's like a color book.
Yeah.
You make the sketch and then you color it in.
Yeah.
Do I want blue over here? Do I want dark blue over there? Maybe the whole song's blue, just different shades of blue. Or maybe it's a freaking rainbow. But you definitely need the sketch first. Yes,
so you
I love
start
that.
with a melody and then you will write lyrics after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes if there's like words that immediately fit into the melody, then it's like, oh, maybe this is what the song's going to be about. Or maybe it's just nothing. And you sit with that, you stick that into the ground, and then you're like, the words will come. Because at the end of the day, syllables, like it's not that hard once you have the placements. This is 2 syllables. This is a diphthong. This is this word works. This word works. And then it just becomes fun. Like a literal science thing. It's like science.
Right. So does it feel, were you a science-oriented kid or no?
No.
So how did you end up counting syllables and like breaking down words and like
Dance.
How did you end up with this?
Dance. Because it's the same thing.
It's a rhythm.
Like either you're going to the beat or you're going to the song, but either way, even the beat, you can find where like the syllables lie. I mean, I did love science, but I just didn't follow any of the rules. Again, like if it was like you have to make this, I was like, I'm gonna make it my own way. And it's like, okay, well, you didn't really do what the assignment asked, but what I made was really cool, you know? So I definitely am finding that freedom within music.
There's
it's
definitely
so much fun.
Rules and science element to the music, because sometimes you feel you're listening to something, especially I noticed that with maybe classical music, that some things just move forward and some things just stay on the same spot, and in rare cases when it's really bad, it kind of moves backwards. So I experienced that, from my studies in film. We will have a teacher who would teach us composing for film, and he will play for us, different classical pieces by different composers. Like there will be different composers that will be like work Karajan and someone unknown, and you will notice how same piece played by a different, conductor and different composer will have a different feeling to it. It's the same piece. One of it will move forward and the other one will just stay in the same spot and you don't have same dynamic, like it's not pushing forward.
Dynamic. That's that's the word. Totally.
So how do you combat that? How do you try to push your music, so it moves forward?
You have to be mindful. You definitely have to be, again, you have to take yourself out and you have to put yourself in as an audience, as a listener, somebody that doesn't know you, somebody that's just truly listened. They don't even know what you look like. Like, what are they going to receive? What are they going to feel from this? And if it's just like, it's like, hey, bye, next. Like, I'm not feeling anything. You need to evoke, even if it's like a surface level, like party, where it doesn't, there's no like true emotion. You can still evoke emotion with somebody.
And I think what also you want to say in that is it's a storytelling in a way.
Yes.
Because there's
beginning,
in a classical
end.
Beginning, middle, end, and you need to have your high moments, your kind of epic moments. Because if everything high, nothing is high. Yes. If everything hype, nothing is high.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the rule. That's kind of the rule. Like, you need to have your valleys so you can have your peaks. And sometimes people don't understand it, and they will have a melody that just goes up and it's like it stays up. Well,
take us somewhere. Take us on a
Give
little bit
breather,
of a journey. Give me a breathe. A breather. 100%. If the chorus is gonna be this thing, there's that saying, don't bore us, get to the chorus. Because eventually it's like, okay, I've heard enough of the beginning, let me go to the middle, then we move from the middle to the end. And there has to be.
But that's what makes it so special. That's why
in all of that.
Our favorite songs, we wait for the chorus because it's that special.
Yes.
And if it was overwhelmed, like we wouldn't. There's anticipation of chorus. Like you go into that filler and you like breathe a little bit, and then you return to it, and it hits you so much better. So I feel like pacing is very important and breaking it down like story wise. It's very important. There's a storytelling in kind of everything, and I feel like even if it's a song without words, like there's still storytelling.
Oh my god, yes. Or in another language that you did. It's totally. And I think really where that comes from is, it's like if every day was great, nothing would be great.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like it's the same thing, even though it's not like, oh, the verse is shit, only the chorus is good, bad days, good days. When you think about it, coming down to like as human beings, what we are kind of going through on a daily basis, that is kind of where that comes down to. And if the chorus is so good, then let me breathe, let me kind of sit back and like, oh my god, that was so good. Then the verse, okay, whatever, then the chorus again, oh my god, like it's this really thrilling high that we love as human beings. So it's important to make sure that we have that alive in our music for sure. Nice. And who inspires you? I know it's probably Rihanna. Who else? Like, what's your inspiration? She is like number one because it's beyond her music, is like her as a woman, the way she moves through her fashion and through her entrepreneur, like it's all of that. But I love Rosalia, and I'm very inspired by her, especially because she's so vulnerable. She's so openly emotional. And I feel like there was a little bit of a lack of representation of that in my world of what I was receiving from music. So I love her. I love Ray, our independent girl. She's taking over the industry right now. And the African women are taking over. So Amare, Bella, and these are, Amare is not necessarily independent anymore, but these are women who also are kind of on the independent side. So even that much more inspiring. I love me some Victoria Monet. I love me some Kehlani, SZA. These women are writers. So again, most of the women I look up to also have a pen because it's not common. Yeah, I noticed in a trend think here. As artists, we are not as artists. We all think as audience members that all of these artists just like write their music. No, they don't. They just don't. And it's such a thing that women don't write music. Like a man always has to do it for them. Yeah. And it's beautiful to see these women who are in the face of media who are writers.
Writing,
It's very cool, very inspiring.
And I noticed, there's a trend in there. It's a strong women working, writing their own songs, singer-songwriters. Like that's
like Thames is she is, and I mean, she just, again, you then get recognition when you write, because she just wrote for Rihanna, and it was this huge thing, like you collaborated through the writing, and it's another way of expression, and it's another way of being an artist, even though she's not singing it, she's the magic behind what Rihanna was singing, so it's very cool.
Yeah, I have huge respect to people who can combine both, because it feels it's challenging. It's hard, to write. And sometimes just there's so many challenges with being a performer, with being an entertainer, that also right on top of it it's
crazy. And so then you have Rosalia, who also produces.
Yeah, that's like next
level. And I'm
level.
like, you are a beast. Like, I don't even think about production right now. I'm like, okay, dance, choreography, writing, singing, but production, I'm like, oh my God, like, how do you even start there?
It shocks me. It shocks me when people can wear so many hats
it's the hats.
effectively. Like for me, it's maybe Tom Ford. He's a director, and very good director, and he directed great movies, and the fashion, obviously. It's just how you can juggle so many things so good.
Yes, and multifaceted, multi-talented, hybrid. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Impresses me, and talking about those are all female artists. What kind of male artists that inspire you?
Oh, that's such a good question. I've been so focused on women recently that I might need to think about this for a second. But
Just from the top of your head.
Yeah, the top of my head. Specifically for, because again, I am heavily inspired by hip hop, especially growing up in a world of hip hop dancing.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't dance to J. Cole, he always caught my attention, because again, hip hop is a little different than the pop world. It is very lyric heavy.
Right.
And he always had this poetic,
but
very
there's a rhythm
beautiful
and cadence to the
and
delivery.
Then he has that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you're the shit. So he for sure always was drawn to the way he approached music.
Who you used to dance to?
I mean, it's so I don't want to say Drake, but it's so it's always on the tip of our tongues. He's at the end of the day, kudos to him for, as annoying as he can be, he's at the tip of all of our tongues. He seems to have always lived there and still lives there. So I definitely grew up dancing to a lot of Drake and a lot of Michael Jackson. I mean, that's outside the world of hip hop. When I think of men, usually it was the world of hip hop growing up. Even Flatbush Zombies, I was so their sound was so inspiring to me, which a lot of people don't even know who they are or talk about them. High school I was very fascinated by them.
I'm not familiar, honestly.
Group of 3 dudes.
Okay.
And they just have this, there's almost an element of the, they have the elements in their music. I find very, people that like to smoke a lot of weed or to be outside could gravitate to that, because they have that element inside their music where it's very out of body, 3-dimensional almost.
Okay.
Very cool. Definitely was a high school thing. Michael Jackson, I grew up dancing to. My first hip hop dance solo. I was the novice. I was in the novice category, and I won everything at that competition. And I was
what was
okay,
the song?
I guess
did you dance to?
Smooth Criminal.
Right.
And it was this big ordeal. Oh my gosh, I guess hip hop was my thing,
Yeah.
And it was a solo. You don't really have young people doing hip hop solos. It's usually big groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Michael is just, I think that every artist should want to be like him or somewhat like him. I mean, even just the hard work, like he was so, oh my goodness, you know, like, I don't know if you can compare anybody to him.
Right.
So definitely grew up dancing to him. But right now, I have been listening to a lot of Western, another group of three dudes from London. Very, 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 very cool. They have a mix of dance hall, hip hop, R&B, a little bit of Afro in there. Again, I'm seeing the power in these melodies.
Yeah.
And what I like to call like crack. It's like these little like little crack crystals that you hear in the song that you're just like, I want to listen to that over and over and over again.
I love that comparison, crack crystals in the song.
So we're like, they're crack dealers.
Yeah.
They're dealing crack and it's
Yeah.
in their music. And SZA's also one of them. SZA is a crack dealer.
Yeah. And
They are just drug
sometimes you
dealers.
catch it and the song stuck in your head. And I notice in myself sometimes playing same song for the whole day because I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And then you kind of decompose it. First time you listen through it and then you're like, oh, I'm going to listen to drums. And you just listen to drums. I don't know if any other people do that, but I tend to do that.
Oh my goodness, it's so, there's no other way. Like we don't know how else to describe it other than crack. It's cracky. It's like, oh my gosh, what was that? That was so like, I need that again, you know, like what is that, you know, like such a
Need
fiend.
that fix, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, Mia Bella. Tell me why they call you Mia Bella Chef.
Chef Mia Bella. I was introduced to so many of my friends through objects, which is like literally how I met you too.
Yeah.
I was introduced to objects not as a musician, as a chef. I took a huge break from social media from the year like 2021 to 2022, like an entire year. And when I came into Object for the first time, I was like, oh my God, like what is this place? This is so freaking cool. Oh my God, like I kind of make music too, but like nobody knows, like I'm just this chef. Like I have this food page and I remember cooking for Kari and Joseph and I was just this chef Mia Bella. Like Joseph knew I made music and they were like, you need to get on stage. And so eventually they pushed me. They kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think after the third time I came, I performed for the first time in my life.
No way.
In my life. And I had all the background vocals.
I was there. I wasn't there.
I was shitting bricks.
Wow.
And I did it. And I was like, wow, I guess I really am meant to be here. Like I really need to come back to music. And I haven't even thought about it since. It's been like, shoo.
Wow.
Ever since that day.
Wow,
so,
it's such a chance thing. I would imagine you were performing before.
First time ever at Objects. And
well, you recorded music, right, before?
yeah, I only had a few songs out, very few, more than some though. And I just felt invincible. Like I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be, and I have not turned back, and I will not turn back since. So
wow,
it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I really got to learn so much of the beginning of performing at Objects. It was like a playground that I could fall and, you know, the crowd would pick you back up and it's like, it's okay. It's a safe place here.
Yeah.
And now we're in a whole new space of performing, and I'm such a professional, and I take it really, really seriously, and I train, and I look at it as a total skill, as like, you know, how much are basketball players training and baseball players training?
Yeah.
Why are we not training the same? Just because it's
For
art?
sure,
Like,
for
no,
sure.
it's still
And
a skill, and you have to work at it the same way.
There's two different things for musicians. There's one thing to be good, you know, in studio, and the other thing is to be good on stage, you know?
I pride myself on my performing, and I will always put that first, because It's like, no matter how good your song is, no matter how many streams you have, you cannot stand next to me on the stage. And I will stand by that. I really, I've learned my worth as a performer, and it's beautiful to be in a place where you're like, oh no, I can get paid for this and I should.
Yeah.
And I can do this. So,
and you had great experience with being a dancer, being on stage. So you had kind of upper hand on some people, because some people just don't have that even experience of having a stage presence. And you know what, with the dancers also, I feel like with the dancers and being on stage, and also with theater performance is the same, that you can really feel if something works or doesn't work just from the reaction of audience. So you can really, ride a wave, and the feeling when you get in the right spot. So I feel it's very important experience for performers, for entertainers.
Yes. Oh my God. I give so much credit to dance. And that's the thing. It's like, it's the first time I've ever performed singing. Mm-hmm. I grew up on a stage. Literally grew up as a child to a young adult. I was on stage 24/7, and solos to groups to trios to duets I did it all. So the lights, the showbiz, the costumes, the makeup, it is like home to me. So now it's just this.
Yeah. Now you added, another dimension to it,
Yeah, it's so cool. And breath work. Ooh, breath work. That's definitely something I don't think anybody talks about enough. And they don't realize it until you're up there and you're like, oh my God, I can't fucking breathe. What the heck am I going to do now? Well, you got to practice.
Yes. Whenever I look at the live performances of some performers who was very active, like Pink maybe, they just, I'm like, how can you sing? You can tell it's live because she's like,
oh yeah,
like it's there, right?
Oh yeah.
How can you do like acrobatics and sing or sing upside down?
The viral performance of her like going like this,
on
the tightrope.
And all great performers do that. Like Beyonce does it, Rihanna does it. Like
Beyonce
shows...
and MJ like are probably two of the most. MJ stands alone, obviously, but Beyonce she's up there. You see her running, sprinting on this massive stage, singing away, no problem, doesn't even notice. Yeah. And you're like, okay, are you human?
And she's probably on the heels, and the stage, as you know, and those stages, as you know, they're slippery as hell.
Oh yeah, she probably got chalk all over her feet. Sure,
but even though she has it, it's still very slippery. It's very hard to walk because it's usually that glossy stage, or like a screen stage. It's hard. It
is. It's definitely, people don't realize it. And then, the audience will be like, oh my God, they lip sync one of the songs. No shit. Do you want them to die?
Yeah.
Do you want them to continue the show?
Yes.
You paid all this money. Well, yeah, I bet you want to stay, huh?
Yeah.
So let them, okay?
It's a little break, especially if the show 1 hour plus. She needs
Beyonce
a little
shows
break.
like 3-something hours or 2.5. What the heck?
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's no way any human being could sing 24/7 throughout the show. So I find it really, like, obviously there's some artists where like you literally can't sing live.
And they changing makeup, and they changing clothes.
Outfits.
And outfits and everything. That's great. That's so much,
Yeah.
And they dancing. It's choreography. You have to remember your choreography, right?
And remember your words.
Yeah, remember your words.
Do breath control. It's like, okay, do you want me to eat food while I'm doing this as well? Let me cook up some pasta, Chef Miabella. There's obviously some artists that like you literally can't sing live, and it's like, don't even try, please. Like just lip sync it, okay?
Yeah.
But obviously, someone like Rosalia, like there are times where you can tell she's singing live, and then there's somewhere you're like, okay, she's lip syncing, she's taking a break. But like, don't come for her, guys. Like, chill, okay? Like, chill. Like, we need to breathe, and we want to finish the show for you. So yeah, it's all about pacing.
For sure. And what do you think about people who either auto-tune exclusive or they just don't have the vocals? And what do you think about that? Because that industry is on the rise. Whenever I go on TikTok, and sometimes I see there's a guy or a girl and they sing in the whatever basement parking lot, and it's like this weird reverb in it, and I'm like, I'm not sure they would get that sort of real, and it's that clean, and I'm like, and they will just add like crackles or whatever, like it's real, and I'm like, well, it's obviously mixed, like, you know. So there's a lot of that. What do you think about, you know, those kind of musicians? Because that's it, you have to hide. You realize you have to hide. So people now think you perform, like, that's your vocals, that's real vocals. Where you gonna go? Like, you're gonna go on stage and just everyone will be like immediately, you know, disillusioned. So you basically have to hide.
Yes, and that's why you have rappers out here who literally have auto-tune on their live mic. And they can't. Like, they literally cannot give you a note live. And if they do, you're like, oh... Can you not do that, please? It's difficult. I mean, because I'm so real when it comes to the skill, and I do put so much work when it comes to the real. You know, it's kind of like that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you know, we haven't made any rules in this music game. Like, anybody and their mother could just put a song on Spotify and you can have all the auto-tune you want on it. You know, there's like no rules, which is great in many ways, but also so annoying because if you're at an NBA game and some fool's on the court and you're like, why is he can't play, he can't, you know, he might have faked his way through. Everyone would be like, get off the court. But in music, what's the point? They all on the court. Like, so it's, I mean, you can't be too bothered because everyone uses a little bit of auto-tune to an extent.
But a little bit. But are we talking about, you know, kind of right now there's a big movement. I almost feel like people faking their voice like it's natural. Like, but then it just, you can hear it because whenever you go to, you know, tools like Auto-Tune, or there's another one in Pro Tools, I forgot how it's called. But basically, if you wanna add those, you know, you have to pull it and push it in different directions. The voice is not there. It wasn't the right note. But then for some reason, and that's even though they try to, you know, add some crackles and add some noise, like it's real, you know, like it's real. But at the end, it's just such a perfect pitch, like it's impossible. And some notes are almost impossible to hit after you know, you cannot hit, like you have the high note and then another one goes even high. Like it's a weird way where you're going to take the breath, you know, like it's
100%. It is very fake. And
so why is it popular? I don't get it.
You know what? Sometimes I'd like to sit down with this entire generation and just ask y'all, what the hell is wrong with you? You know, it's like almost like the worse you are, like there's this weird movement of like, it's not that great, you know, and you know that it's very, very distorted and auto-tuned, and you have literally every effect you could ever possibly put on it, and it's, you know, the biggest song in the world, but they burn out very quickly, and that is something that I always check myself with when I'm like, oh, you know, because I'm like what the fuck, you know, but they burn out so fast. Ain't nobody care. Like it's a trend, and then ain't nobody care.
Yeah, I just don't feel there's life after it. Because as I said, you cannot show up anywhere.
It lives and dies
with
in
your
the same
voice.
day.
You know, with your real voice, you cannot show up anywhere because people will immediately catch you.
Yeah,
you know? So 100%. It's almost like you now have to hide behind this sort of mask of
100%,
like, which is kind of disingenuous.
Poo-poo. I don't want to do that. Yeah, but there's also, you know, it's so interesting because there's no like fake basketball players. We're like, oh yeah, I can play, and then you get to it doesn't exist. But in music, it's everywhere. Yeah. So there's some artists that are recording artists and only recording artists because they sound like shit. Like really, they aren't that great, but they might have a good team. They might have a voice that sounds good when it's auto-tuned. Yeah. You know, like. But I don't even know if that's a thing, but then there's real artists who are live and in person and who want to make real music to make people feel something. And then there's the others who are just here for the money and the trend and the bag. And it's tough. It's a split. The music industry is a divide. So it's tough because I'm over on this side and there's less light on this side, you know? I mean, actually, funny enough, there's more light because it's very dark over there spiritually, but there's more cameras over there versus cameras over here. And that's why you have so many artists that are slept on or underrated or underpaid because they don't have some goofy trend on TikTok. You know, it's tough, but what can you do? This is the world we live in, and everything's run by media, and we just have to stand on our 2 feet and remind ourselves that we are still here in person, and that there's still something worthy of putting our energy there.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like you're in, you know, early stages navigating that sort of media, putting yourself out there, you know, generating, you know, videos and putting audio content there. So what are your experiences right now? And what are you experiencing? What are the challenges of a young artist putting yourself together? The gatekeepers.
I love that question. Yeah, it's so real. And gatekeepers is a term that I've been talking about a lot recently, because there is, you know, and it's difficult to accept, but there are gatekeepers left, right, and center. And walking through this fire, this forest, because it's a total battle until you kind of get yourself on the other side. You do feel like all our odds are up against you, you know. Even Spotify, Spotify for artists, and like, artists, no, they're not for us. Like, they're actually not for us. Everything about them and the way they move is against us. There's this new rule that if you don't surpass 1,000 streams, you just don't get paid.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, even though, it might have not been that much money, think about how many independent, because it's independent young artists. But they made that money. They're pocketing that.
They're pocketing. And if you add up all the independent artists, that's like millions of streams. Like people having less than 1,000 views and just that not getting monetized, you know?
Yeah. It's really difficult. And every day you have to wake up and you have to tune out everything. Like, you literally have to tune out everything, because if not, that's why you see so many people give up. And that's why I look up to people so much like Russ, because he's one of those people, those very few people that really did it. There are so many people in this world that know who he is. I may not listen to his music like that, but I'm definitely paying attention and following his footsteps. And he says, you know, when he came up, a lot of his friends that he was making music with were way better than him. But they let all that noise seep into their soul, and they quit, and they're nowhere to be seen. But Russ, he was just delusionally confident, as we like to say. He was extremely determined. He already saw himself in the future, and he already he already put himself there. So he didn't let anything kind of steer him. Oh, you can't do it. Just, you know, it's 24/7. Oh, well, you know, you need a plan B, right? Fuck a plan B. There's no such thing. Do what you want to do and dive into it full force, because I'd rather live with, what's the quote? Like, I'd rather
try than regret it.
Yeah, like I don't want to be disappointed. I'd rather risk.
You don't want to live disappointed. You'd rather live and risk the disappointment.
Yeah, like you're better to do it and fail than have not done it at all.
Right.
And no, I don't want to live with regret. I don't want to look back and be like, oh, I should, I could, this, that. Yeah. Try everything, you know? And that's where, in this day and age especially, they're like, okay, well, you need to pick a genre, pick a genre, stay there. Bitch,
stick.
No.
That's everywhere, right? Like, that's the thing. That's the success model on social media. You have to stick to one thing.
You're doing a podcast, only do a podcast.
Only
don't
do a podcast.
Anything else.
But no, not just do a podcast. Just do a podcast about cooking. Just do a podcast about, cars. Do a podcast about and the problem is, like, I think truly creative people, they can be put in a box because they want to do different things. Like, I want to do different things. I don't want to do just music videos. I don't want to just do rap music videos. I don't want to just do, commercials, or I don't want to just do corporate. I want to play around. I want to do films and stuff. But as soon as I put it on my website, all of those, and I have them. I have one website that is just a mush of different things, and I love it because it shows the range, right? And
multifaceted.
Clients don't like it. Because they go and they like, we want the medical video, and you don't have medical videos. You have music videos. I'm like, well, it's the video.
Take
at the
it
end,
or
right?
leave it, baby.
You know,
love me or leave me alone.
People want very specific thing, and they will follow you for specific thing, and they will be mad, you know, angry if you suddenly pivot. You know, like how people, like TikTok is great example, because I feel TikTok escalated that and multiplied it by 1,000.
Yes.
You know, people will do same exact thing. They will do a trend. Will be like NPC whatever stream, right? And they will just do that, and you will see like zillion of videos. Every one of them have like million plus.
Yep.
But she does exactly same thing, and I'm like, for me, it's immediately boring. Like,
Yep.
why would I watch million?
The same thing over and over and over again.
I don't get how it works.
I think a lot of it, again, we're up against machines
Right.
nowadays.
So you think algorithms that's stopping?
I think that it's part of it. I think that it's definitely part of it. And they say, you know, when you make your TikTok account, you have to do this amount of this in 30 days and this amount of that. And make sure you're doing the exact same video. It needs to be so niche that it's like you're doing wear the same outfit, the same hair. Bitch, what the fuck? No. And that's where I'm like, you know
that's
what?
The problem. It's not fun.
Yeah.
wanna do
it
that.
may take me longer, but trust and believe I will have a song for everybody. And eventually you won't be able to pass up Mia Bella, because whether or not you don't like this, you're going to like this. And whether or not you don't like my emotional stuff, you're going to like my party stuff. And that's where I'm like, you know what? It's tough right now, and as I said, it may take me longer, but like life is long, and I'm here for the ride.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
love me or leave me alone. You know,
I love
you
that.
can't put me in a box. You can't put you in a box. So don't try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just feel, you know, there's a luxury that only right now artists who made it and who are big already making crazy money can afford, which is to rediscover themselves and change themselves.
Yes.
And, you know, and you know, good for them. I'm all about, you know, Beyonce doing, you know, country, and like it just the problem that a lot of starting musicians cannot afford that.
No, it's
cannot
very
afford
difficult.
to redefine themselves.
It's very
because it's
difficult.
like, because people will not follow them, because it's
Yep.
like, oh, you were doing, you know, hip hop, now you're doing country here. Are you
And
crazy?
that's honestly kind of what I've dealt with the past 6 months, especially just in my personal life. I've had a lot of things that have changed. And so it showed through my music. And I feel like there was a little bit of a pushback. People were kind of thrown off. Like, you had us on this thing and then it just died. Don't worry, it's coming back.
Yeah, but there's a range.
But
and
there's a range.
I feel you
It's-
were doing
it's-
more, you know, party sort of songs. And then I first time experienced that acoustic one that you did for your
Uncle.
For your uncle.
Yes.
Was it Paul?
Yes.
Yeah, so you did that one. It was very different. It was not, you know, not your typical Mia Bella. And I was like, it's interesting how it like evolves. Like, what was the reaction for that one?
The reaction was beautiful. I think specifically for that single, it was extremely, it was a huge breakthrough. And there's a whole community that he had that I can still tap into. So I think people were definitely moved by that. I think it was more so what came afterwards. You know, there was a whole project, and even myself, I had difficulty pushing it. I had difficulty making content and like, oh my God, content. And like, sometimes I'm like, no, I just want to make the music and dip.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what these record label artists can afford to do. But as we were saying, we cannot.
So tell us a little bit about
that's
the Paul song that you did.
It was probably the most heartfelt and personal song I've ever written. I tried really hard to write something to him for him when he passed away, which we're going on like 4.5 years, which is insane. But nothing worked, nothing clicked. I was forcing it instead of connecting and allowing myself to be a vessel and receive it. I was trying to force it, and none of it worked. It was just like, doesn't feel genuine enough, doesn't feel natural enough. At the end of the day, yes, as much as this is a thought out process and you want to take your time, it should come naturally, because when you are connected as an artistic being, you are a vessel. And sometimes you just receive it and you just, and it just, you know?
Wow.
So I think that once I was in a place of acceptance and I had dealt with my grief, I think he gave it to me. Like he gave me this body of work, this beautiful, beautiful song. It came so naturally. Like I don't even remember how long it took me. It was just natural. And I took it to my producer, and I had like a rough idea of what I wanted the beat to be, and he took it somewhere else and made it even more beautiful, and like, you know, you could really feel it. I wanted you to feel it in your bones. And
it's a powerful song.
it was
really
thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, first time I experienced it live here, and yeah, it was very special. It was very special.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to do it a cappella too.
A cappella, yeah, it's very special a cappella.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
And it's very hard. Not everyone can sing like that a cappella.
And that's also where I think, you know, Paul,
you should lean into your strengths, you know?
I love that. Thank you. You're the best. Paul was the director of Etobicoke School of the Arts. He was a singer, he was a dancer, he was an actor, huge in musical theater. He performed all over cruise ships and in many shows all over. And he was one of the reasons why I started singing. So I feel like when I, you know, sit and talk to him, he was like, you need to do this a cappella. You number one need to show that you can sing, and that you can do it a cappella, and you need to let people sit in the silence of this.
It's very
huge,
impressive.
Cathartic.
Yeah. A cappella is very impressive, and it has a lot of potential, because I feel that just because of those pauses and this like silence, right? So that's why I feel it has, like, technically it has the most dynamics possible, right? Because it's silence, the speakers not working, there's no background music, so it has as much dynamics as you can, you know, sing. So it shows your range, you know. So it's very impressive that you can, you know, do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a really out of body experience, and it was very difficult releasing a song like that, because, you know, I held it like in my gut for so long, and I shared it with only a very few amount of people. And that's the difficulty, is, you know, this music industry is a business, and there's so many people that either are, you know, children of famous people, and they're like, I just want to be a singer, you know, or I just want to make music, or like music is cool, music is trending, so like I just want to be an artist. It's like, but you ain't got nothing to show. Like there's no emotion, there's no nothing. You're not making me feel nothing.
Yeah, there needs to be substance, right?
Give
behind
me
the
something, you know.
But shifting gears from that, do you feel like there's a different measure for female artists than male artists? Because I noticed that's what's permittable for the female artist, and talking about, you know, auto-tune, talking about some rappers just mumbling into microphone. Like, do you think the industry inherently unfair to the female artists?
Totally. We're put on a map, and it's like, oh, you know, just you know, show your tits and like just be sexy and do this. And it's like, okay, well, no, that also doesn't also work, because then you're judged for it. But then if you don't do it enough, you're shelved, especially by these labels. Like when you're run by these, it's a yikes. And you hear all these stories about what women have gone through, and you're like,
so
oh my God.
Like the industry looks like a, you know, like a pageantry, basically, like a something like people abusing the looks, sexualizing. And it's like, and totally, like, if person want to be sexualized, it's totally no power up to you. It's just you extend when you have control over it, and then when people want, you know, have control over it.
Exactly. My body, my choice, period. But sadly, it's not the case for a lot of these women, especially when they're young. It's so difficult because you're signed, and you're like, okay, well, I can't really say no. I'm not going to say yes. I can't really do like you're trapped in many ways, and you want to win. Most of these artists are true music lovers at heart. And like me, like a girl who's grown up on stage, and you know, I never liked school. I never felt in place of, oh, let's go to university and do this. I was like, no, like I'm a dancer. I like to sing. I like music. Like this is how I survive. I've been hospitalized many times for mental health, and music was the only thing that saved me. So it's much bigger than just like, oh, I want to win in this business. I want to get a Grammy and da da da. Like, I want this so bad that like, I guess I'll say yes. I guess I'll do this. I guess I'll do the things I don't want to do, which is so sad, because then you look at the music industry for what it is and you're like, ew, it's actually way worse than what it seems like on the outside. You know, not everything that glitters is gold. That saying, it's that.
Do you think it's still here, or it's something that sort of passed away with the artists from the 90s like Britney, and they experienced it, and that's no longer
like, look at Britney
crazy
now.
at same. That's a whole other can of worms.
Makes me want to cry. Like, it's
a
so
mental
insane.
health issue. It's a mental health issue.
It's so insane to see what happens to some people.
And but being abused by your own family, like, that's next level for me. You know?
Absolutely.
And I think Michael can, my experience of Michael is very similar in a way. He was, basically abused by his own family.
Totally. And, anything for a check, right?
Yeah.
Like, this world has put so much pressure. Exactly.
Is it worth it?
This world has put so much pressure on money and this, that, and, you end up seeing these people that just, they do anything for a check, even when it comes to family. And it's like, oh my God, like, that's your kid, But yeah, I mean, I definitely am grateful to be where I am and be aware of these things and be going into this industry as an adult.
Yeah.
And a really intelligent one who has a really, really good head on my shoulders and a really good support team and people and family, friends behind me that, again, I'm lucky enough to be aware.
You said a very important thing about just being an adult, like coming into this industry by being an adult. Like, you can avoid a lot of those things because you can see them as, trends or like pitfalls.
Yes.
Like, in a way, it's a good place to be.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
Totally. Especially by choice.
Yeah.
Like, all of these things I'm doing are my choices. Yeah. And I'm not just some kid that's like, oh, I guess I have to do. Like, you don't even know what that is. You don't even know what boundaries are as a kid. I didn't even know what boundaries were until a few years ago. And I started realizing, oh, okay, I have to stop letting people treat me that way. I have to put up a this. I have to put up a that. You can't do that as a kid.
No.
Especially not with these big, powerful people behind you. No. So I'm very, very lucky. And I'm excited, to be like, no.
Yeah.
I don't need you. And I'm not going to say yes to this, and then be here and be like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Having the control and the power to do so.
Yeah, it's very powerful to say no. I feel like everyone goes through it in their different ways. And when I was starting, I thought if I will say no to gig or to work, like it just goes to someone else. Like, they will never call me back. So I used to say yes to every gig that I had, and then I found myself just doing not what I like. And just because you're busy all the time, but you're doing not what you truly want to do.
Yeah, so what's the point?
Because you were saying yes to everything because you were afraid that they're gonna. But good things happen to you when you start saying no to people, and because better things are coming. Because some doors are closing and the new ones are opening.
Yes.
And sometimes if you don't like it, just say no. Or especially I'm big, proponent of just letting people go. I think some people just need to go, right? Some people just want to hold you back. They enjoy their situation. They don't want to grow. They just comfy there, right? And the thing is, no one will,
statement.
If they like you, they want you to be with them, So they just hold you.
Rise to the occasion.
So
we talk about this all the time.
At every step in your life, you should let go some people, and it's fine. It's fine.
100%. You know what I always used to say? When I was in college, kind of going through a lot, I would always say, well, if I'm going to get on a new flight, why am I bringing the baggage from the last vacation?
Yeah.
You can't. There's only a certain amount of weight that you, like,
yeah.
Those clothes are worn out. They're dirty. They've been run over, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
Okay, so let them go. And there's a part of grieving that comes with that, even though it may be an object or even though it may still be a human who's still alive, there's still a grieving process that we need to acknowledge as human beings and let ourselves feel and let go so that the universe can give us what's waiting for us.
Oh, that's beautiful. You put it very beautiful. But I also feel like there's only so many connections you can technically have simultaneously.
Yes.
So it's like it's a buffer.
Like, oh my
it's
God.
like a buffer. You have 128 megabytes of RAM or whatever, and you have to, you have to delete the data that is like useless, because that's actually to my talking about me who has 120 open tabs on the Chrome browser. I'm the one there's some people who have
never close them.
I never close them. I have like million emails unopened,
Me too.
There's some people who go through each one of them every time and they open them. I don't know. I don't have, and also I will leave tabs because I'm like, there's something in there. I will read it. And now I have tabs that's been open for like, I imagine a couple of years and I haven't read them. So maybe it's not that important, but like being able to let go and, close all your tabs and just clean your life a little bit is so liberating. I recently was just like, I just deleted all the tabs and I was like,
I am going through the same thing as you. Cheers to that. It is spring cleaning, baby. Yeah. Get rid of some stuff so that you can bring in the new.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's
what
why
does Sharpay say? Out with the old and in with the new. Goodbye, clouds of gray. Hello, skies of blue. Like, take it back to High School Musical, baby.
I love that. I love that. So also, give me maybe some tips for, since you're going through it, and you're, adult and you see all of those, little pitfalls for maybe, starting kids who want to go into music, who want to release their music, give them some little tidbits, some little, advice, what to avoid.
What to avoid? Avoid sticking around people who obviously don't have your best intention. If somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. It only takes one time to learn who somebody is. That is huge, and that's something I wish that I really, really knew, because I'm still right now letting go of people I should have let go way time ago. Mm-hmm. So don't assume that you need everybody. You are capable of so much more than you can imagine, and you can do a lot more alone than you think you can. Don't focus on external validation, because nobody's ever going to give you enough of what you really desire. You need to be able to give that to yourself. Have people that you trust, that you show your music to, that you show your art to, but don't share it with everybody, because let me tell you, you're doing something extraordinary that a lot of people can't grasp. And so they're not going to give you the reaction that you so desperately want, because they're like, what is even going on? Like, they can't picture or imagine themselves in your position. So they're probably not going to acknowledge it, or they're going to try to shut it down. Try not to take anything personal. The actions of others have nothing to do with you, and don't assume either. Read a lot of books, study a lot of artists, study a lot of producers, learn the names of the engineers, the writers, the producers, the filmmakers. Don't just focus on the artist, focus on the backbone of who they are and why they are where they are. And never, ever give up. This is not an overnight success, and anyone who thinks any overnight success was a thing was 10 years in the making. Be gentle with yourself. Allow yourself to fall, because you know you are going to pick yourself up again.
Wow.
And keep going.
So tell me, Mia-Bill, what's next? What are you working on?
So much fun freaking music. I think a lot of what my last EP, The Other Side, was about was honestly, for me, it was a breaking point for me. It was something I needed to let go of. It was an out-of-body experience that I needed to put out so that I could move on. And now we're moving on to some really, really fun stuff that's much more high vibrational, much more upbeat. I'm tapping into different genres, different sounds. I have some collaborations on the way, and I'm not somebody who has many collaborations, so this is very exciting. And yeah, I mean, you will never be able to expect what my next move is, but if you pay close attention, you will probably have some ideas of the sounds and the styles that are coming next. But there's going to be some dance involved for sure. There's going to be many more visuals. I want to really focus on high quality visuals. And working with new people that I've never worked with before. Summer is mine.
Well, I'm looking forward to the new material, new songs, and thank you for coming. It was a pleasure.
It was such a pleasure, Igor. Thank you
such a
so
pleasure.
much.
And thank you for tuning in, and like, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and
You know
meet us
the
in the
deal.
next one. Have a good one.